appeal to 10 to 14-year-old girls. And you have to project an image, a very innocent image, kind of a...
I guess what I was getting is that you folks, there have been so many sad stories of some child stars who have had troubles with chemical dependency or with, you know, crime, being in jail, and there weren't a lot of headlines about the Brady kids.
Thank goodness. At least we didn't get caught. That's good.
See, I knew he'd say that. All right, now, how did you feel when the show was over? Did you feel like the rug had been pulled out?
Exactly. And the reason being is we had finished our 5th season, and we were still doing well in the ratings, and we were told that we were coming back again for a 6th year. So when we left, we all said, we'll see you in June when we started up again. And it wasn't until about 3 months later we got a call from an executive at the network who said he was sitting at his desk with a bottle of bourbon with the unpleasant task of telling us that we had just been canceled. Thank you very much. So we were, boom, it was like, oh my God, I mean, I'm not going to go back and see that family. We're not going to do another year, and then all of a sudden you start tuning into another kind of reality.
Interesting you mentioned that it was like loss of family as opposed to loss of work. You really saw them as a family.
We are like a family, and we've been through the change. It is like having an extended family, especially now. We've had 6 different reunions on all 3 networks. We've been on in each of 4 successive decades, and we see each other frequently and often. We're there for each other when we need to be.
All right, now you had written a book that sold like 100,000 copies in 10 minutes or something. Growing Up Brady, I Was a Teenage Greg, right?
Whoever would have thought I was a teenage Greg. Basically, it was For Whom the Bell Bottoms Toll.
All right. But I mean, am I hearing that it's like, do you feel you ever developed yourself, Barry Williams, as opposed to sort of carrying on with this character of Greg Brady?
I think so, at some point. I'm still working on developing myself, but I was always been clear that Greg was a character I was playing, and I was the actor that was portraying the character.
Now, do you sit down and watch yourself still in the Brady Bunch?
Every day, in 144 different countries.
I can't do when he's serious.
I know it seems silly, but for me, watching that show is like watching old home movies. The problem that I have, Jane, is that I know how they all turn out.
Yeah?
So there's no suspense.
Okay, why's your hand up over here? I saw it. Yeah.
I recently saw you starring in City of Angels in Miami, and I thought it was an excellent job. Are you still doing that show, or are you done with that, or what?
We finished the national tour, and I'm going to do another one this summer up in the Poconos in Falmouth County and at Bucks County. So this summer in June, July, and August.
Do you ever feel, I mean, you sound very well adjusted about the fact that this character has, you know, sort of carried over into your adult life. Has it ever hurt you in terms of getting parts that people saw you in one way?
Absolutely, it has. It's worked both ways, but what I finally found later on in my 20s was to just kind of go neutral on the whole issue. It was like starting my career over again. And it was fine if I was Greg, and it was fine if I was not Greg Brady. But I've been having a lot of fun with it. I enjoyed writing the book. I enjoy the fans that have read it and enjoyed the show over the years. And I'm proud of being part of that group and that family.
How do you explain what the appeal was? I mean, I've heard it called everything from like a syrupy sitcom to this sort of, you know, Ozzie and Harriet meets whatever. I mean, it's like, was it that it was a family? Is that why it was so popular?
I think partly that. You know, for most people, I think it was like an excellent way to blow off a half an hour before they started their homework.
What do you think? Somebody explain to me what the appeal of the Brady Bunch was. Anybody in the audience? You all say you watched it. Why over here? Stand up.
The music.
The music.
The music?
And the choreography.
It's got a great beat. You can dance to it?
The choreography. These are other steps.
As the oldest of 5 kids, I know each of us identified with one of the siblings. Really? Yes, and we tried to mimic them.
Right.
In your house?
In our house.
How did it work out?
Well, we fought too much.
I try and tell people that if you want a family like the Bradys, you can have one. All that you need is a producer, director, writer, a big studio, a fairly awful wardrobe, and maybe some AstroTurf in the backyard.
Tell us the real story. Who of the siblings was the least like his or her role?
No question. No question. Susan Olsen was the least like Cindy of all of us. The rest of us, you could kind of see where we come in and out of character, but Susan Olsen, I think, had more trouble with that playing Cindy because she was younger as well, so I don't think she had as much of her own identity. Then she was playing this character that was, you know, arguably somewhere between precious and retarded. And she knew it. And so her school friends, I think, used to associate her more with Cindy than with Susan, and that was a little frustrating for her.
Well, guess what? She's here. She had no trouble in getting here. We have with us Susan Olsen, who played Cindy Brady. Come on down. There she is.
This is your life.
How did you do this? Look at her. You didn't know.
No, I've been here for 2 days.
I've been hiding out.
Bring it up at all right, here we go. Somewhere between precious and retarded?
Terribly.
Is that the way you felt about that part?
Yeah. Well, I mean, come on, think about it. There were some times when Cindy was like 9 years old, and she has to write signs. Vote for Marcia. Marcia is her sister. She cannot spell Marcia's name, and she's 9 years old. Lots of silly, stupid things that I suppose were meant to be cute, but I was perhaps a little old for them, such as the Shirley Temple thing,
right,
which would have been very cute had I been 7, but I was 12 and quite awkward and wearing braces.
They wrote an episode for her when she was 7, but we didn't film it till she was 12, and so she comes down there to pin her forth.
It's a little bit of a stretch for you, Susan. All right, well, now the frustration, you can let it all hang out here. We're going to take a break, and rumor has it that Susan also had a behind-the-scenes romance with one of her former Brady Bunch brothers. Who can say that? She'll tell us which one next. Two former Brady Bunch child stars, Barry Williams, who played Greg, and Susan Olsen, who played Cindy. All right, Susan, come clean.
Oh.
You had a trailer romance behind the scenes with somebody?
No, it wasn't really in the trailer. It was in the doghouse.
That doghouse saw a lot of action, apparently.
Yeah, you know what? We kept the doghouse long after Tiger was gone because our lawn was AstroTurf. And one day a light fell on the lawn and created big melted, molten AstroTurf area. So we kept the doghouse, which was convenient for Michael and I.
Michael, now Michael, you were...
Tiger wasn't actually in the doghouse at the time, was he?
Well, sometimes, well, I won't get into that one.
No, but who was Michael?
Michael was Bobby Brady. And he was my best friend all the while I was growing up.
Ooh, did you suspect? Did you know? Is this a shock? Didn't know, didn't have any idea. Now, what happened to the romance?
Well, we actually had a little wedding. Michael and I played marriage. Maureen performed the ceremony. Eve was the witness, of course, that's Marcia and Jan. And so Michael and I got married and walked around looking really goofy, holding hands, going, "We're married now." And a big, "Oh, that's so cute."
And how old were you when this happened?
7. And then he decided he liked Eve better because she was developing. And so we got divorced.
Really?
Yeah, so the way we did a divorce was we did the marriage ceremony backwards and like walked backwards. Instead of like kissing each other, we kind of spat at each other and, and walked backwards, and then we were divorced.
Now, did you have, I mean, when this show ended for you, you were younger, did you have trouble adjusting to the fact that this wonderful time in your life had gone, or what?
Not really. To me, it was like, wow, great, I get to have a normal summer. And I was kind of ready for it, and I wanted to go on to other things. And I would miss the work, but it was a new adventure, then learning to become Susan and be entirely normal.
And so your life has been entirely normal ever since then?
Well, as normal, I guess, as it can be.
Are you still acting?
No, I'm a graphic artist, an illustrator, and actually where I work right now, nobody knows who I am.
What do you mean nobody knows who you are?
My art director knows, because I told him, because like...
What, do you work in a small cubicle that no one can
living in
see you come in or go out or something, or what?
Well, I'm one of like, 3 white English-speaking people in the company. So I guess that would have something to do with it.
All right. A lot of questions in the audience. Who had questions for Susan and Barry? Yeah.
I wanted to know, as the years went on, were you able to buy into the show and get some good residuals as the years went on?
Oh, break my heart. Oh.
We don't make any money from the original show, and haven't since the 70s. The laws have changed so that now if you were to start a series, or even in the mid-70s, you would, but we signed up in the 60s, and so we don't make any money. It's good and it's bad. It's made us work harder.
There's nothing good about that, Barry.
No, I mean, because the show is on in like reruns in like 100 different markets or something.
No kidding.
Oh, I'm sorry. You already knew that. I see. No,
Still is.
44 countries, you know that.
3 times a day in some places.
Oh, all right.
If I only had a nickel for, you know, oh well. I'm not going to cry over it.
Are you seriously angry about that, or you're?
It's bothering me now. Okay. Basically, the contract that we signed, that was the way things were then. That was just standard procedure. You got residuals for the first 10 runs. We didn't expect anything more than that. But as the years go by and the rent gets harder to pay, you know, I think it would be awfully nice if I did make something off of it.
Okay. You had something that was...
Are you planning any reunions in the future of the Brady Bunch?
Just when you thought it was safe to go to your local Cineplex. Paramount last year announced plans, and I don't know the status of it right now, but they announced plans to bring to a theater near you Brady Bunch, the movie.
Oh, I like that.
But wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Here's the
Does
thing.
that make you happy?
There's something else.
Why are you a Brady Bunch fan? I'm just curious.
I like the music myself, and
Marcia.
the music was great.
The music, right?
The music was great, and the family was great, too.
And the intricate plots.
All right.
Now, what we're talking about that movie, though, just briefly, from what I understand from our producer, creator Sherwood Schwartz, is that that would be set in the 70s, and so they would recast all of the kids and the adults. So I don't think they'll be using the original Bradys.
Well, we may have cameo roles as other people.
She's checked into it already. She knows, right? All right.
Just wouldn't come with residuals.
Susan, before we go into break, what do you think the appeal of the show was or is?
Well, sadly, I think that it's due to the breakdown of the family. And I think that there are a lot of kids out there that really don't have, I mean, how many people growing up today have a family that actually has a mother and a father and all these siblings that get along together? And I think it's kind of timeless because kids will always want to relate to such a nice family. And unfortunately, such a nice family is getting harder and harder to find.
Okay. So it's still that fantasy that we all sort of want to hang our hats on. Okay. Going to take a break. Next, you knew her once as Punky Brewster, a 7-year-old who smiled her way into America's heart. Now she's 16 and speaking out on serious issues from sex to self-esteem. Actress Soleil Moon Frye joins us when we return. We'll be back.
On Mondays, Jane Whitney.